What does Taco Bell have to do with chords? We're going to find out today. Hold on, cheers me first. Taco Bell gets a really bad rap for using the same 4 ingredients and just putting them in 1,000 different combinations, right? Well, music does the same thing and we don't give it a bad rap in the same way. Why is that? Think about it. There's only 12 notes to choose from, right? It's just like the ingredients at Taco Bell. Just to clarify, this episode is not sponsored by Taco Bell, although it could be. So today we're going to look at different chord formulas, how to make a major, minor, augmented, and diminished chord, what that means, why they sound the way they do, and also understanding that once we have those basic chord formulas, we can take those ingredients and kind of swap them around and make a soft taco into a hard taco, into a double-decker, into a Crunchwrap Supreme. But it's still going to have the same ingredients and the same overall tone and sound. Understanding what chords are, how they work, why they sound the way they do, and how they work together are really important parts of understanding music in general, whether it comes to performing, writing, analyzing, or anything. So, let's break that down and look at what basic chords are made up of so we can use that to our advantage. So a chord is essentially just a combination of notes that you play or sing or perform at the same time. And depending on who you talk to, you either need 2 notes or 3 notes to make a chord. For today's lesson, we're just going to look at the basic 3-note chords, otherwise known as triads. So we're going to look at the 4 main triads in music. We've got major, minor, diminished, and augmented. So a triad is made up of 3 basic notes, a root, a third, and a fifth. In this example, we've got C, skip a note, E, skip a note, G, and we've got a C major chord. But how do we get some that sound minor, and some that sound diminished, and some that sound augmented? It's all based on how you count the spaces between the notes. So, here's our formula. A major triad is simply a root and then 4 notes or 2 full steps up. And then from our third, we go 1.5 steps or 3 notes up. So, from E, 1, 2, 3 to G. Or this is a full step and this is a half step. Altogether, we've got a major triad. It doesn't matter where you construct this. Let's look at a different key, for example. If I go to D, and then I count 4 notes up, 1, 2, 3, 4, well, that should make a major sound with the D, and it does. And then counting from the F sharp, we go 1, 2, 3. There's our D major. Look, you can see it right there. Hi, D major, how's it going? Now that we know what a major triad is, let's look at the other types. We're going to start from our major one to understand the difference between them. So here's a C major, and all we have to do to make a major into a minor is you take that third and you scooch it down 1 fret or 1/2 step or just 1 little note down, such as this. Well, that's that sad sound, I know. I know it so well. So we count this out and we've got root, 1, 2, 3, or 1 1/2 steps up. And then from here, we go 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 notes or frets or 2 full steps up. And then all together. And that is how you make a minor triad. So now that we're on this C minor chord, this is a perfect segue into a diminished triad. So if you diminish something in real life, what do? You make it smaller, right? If I diminish my funds by buying Taco Bell for myself, my bank account goes a little lower, right? So just like that, we take our chord and the space between the notes. If we diminish this fifth down 1 note or 1 fret or 1/2 step, that G becomes a G flat on that black key. So we took a minor triad and we diminished the space between the third and the fifth by 1 fret or 1/2 step. And what happens is we get a very tense and dissonant and basically unhappy sounding chord, right? And the thing that really makes that sound out of this relationship of notes is the C, or the root, and the flatted fifth here. This is called a tritone when you put it together, also known as the devil's interval because it sounds so evil. And so these two notes really don't get along, and when you play them together, it creates that tension that really wants to go home. So that's what a diminished chord sounds like, and that's how you can understand it more easily. It's basically a minor triad, and you diminish the space of the fifth compared to the root. So with all these triads, we've still got a C, an E, and a G. All we've done is, for a minor one, we make the E an E flat. And for a diminished one, we make the G also a G flat. And to understand augmented, let's go back to our major, C, E, G. And think about what we said when we diminish a chord. We lower the interval, or make it smaller, the space between the notes, right? An augmented chord is the exact opposite. We take that fifth, and instead of scooching it down one fret closer to the root, we shoot it up just one little note. And that sounds like this. Once we make this G a G sharp, sounds like sh. This chord is actually surprisingly common in film and music and game scores, where you want to create a sense of mystique and kind of separating from reality in a surreal kind of sense. It doesn't sound sad per se, but it sounds mysterious. So something like, And so that augmented sound has another sort of tension about it. It creates a very interesting tone, and it's very useful in certain contexts. So altogether, our triads look like this. Our major triad is a root plus a third, which is 2 full steps away, and then a fifth, which is 1 1/2 steps away from the E. And then a minor triad looks the same, except we take that major third and we scoot the E or the third down 1 fret, and then we play that with our regular G, and we've got the minor sound. And then to make that diminished, we take our fifth and we flat it or take it a little bit closer to the root, and we play that with our minor third down here. So minor third plus minor third. And then lastly, our augmented, we just start with our basic major, and then we add space to the fifth, and it sounds like that. What does this have to do with Taco Bell, though? It's simple. Once we have our basic ingredients, C, E, and G, or beef, lettuce, cheese, we can swap them around any which way we want to, and guess what's going to happen? It's still gonna sound like the same chord. Just like a taco tastes like a taco. So in music theory, this concept is known as voicing, where we take the same basic ingredients, or notes, and we can swap them around and put them different places. But as long as I play a C, an E, and a G, it's still going to sound or taste the same, right? We're going to learn a few different ways to put these together. First, let's look at inversions. Inversions are a great way of understanding how voicing works in general, and it's also a very good visual representation of what's going on here. So if we look at our basic triad, we've got a C, an E, and a G. C major sound. Now, watch what happens if I take that C and I move it up to the top instead. Now we've got E, G, and C, and we play those. Whoa! It sounds a little different, but it's still a C major sound. And this is what the first inversion of a C major would be. You take the bottom note and you swap it to the top, and now you've got E, G, C. The same 3 note letters, but we've spaced them in a different way. The second inversion is as simple as taking this E, G, C, and I'm going to take that E and I'm going to put it up top, and now we've got G, C, E. It doesn't matter how we put them together. C, E, G is E, G, C, which is G, C, E. They are all a C major chord. That's why you can do this forever. As long as you use that same combination of notes, you're good to go. So we've got our basic triad, root, third, fifth, and then our first inversion takes the root and puts it up top. So now we've got a third, fifth, and root. And then the second inversion just takes that third and puts it up top. So now we have a fifth, root, third. Since it's the same three notes, you're going to get the same sound. Another way to help understand and visualize what voicings and inversions mean on guitar is through, of all chords, the C major chord. So check this out. It's got both inversions built right inside of it. And you can see this here. Our bottom note is a C, third fret of the A string. And then second fret of the D string is our second note, the E note. And then we've got our open G. Okay, that's C, E, and G. Perfect. Now, if we go up one, that is a C, the first fret of the B string. So if we count from D to the B string, we've got E, G, C. There's that C major sound again. And then if we start from the open G string and count from there, G, and then C, first fret of the B string, and then our open E. It's the same notes again, G, C, E. So inside this one chord, we have our basic root triad, C, E, G. Then we have our first inversion starting on the E. And then we have our second inversion starting on the G. And all together, it's still the same C chord. So this opens us up to all sorts of custom voicings that we can create for ourselves or use in the context of different songs to kind of express or accentuate different melodies or harmonic contexts. So I'm going to take this C and I'm going to take the E out, ya gonzo, and I'm going to put that E up on the top here. And let's see what that sounds like all together. That's a really, really nice voicing. This one allows the third to kind of shine up on top. And it still has that C major sound, but it has a different voice. Back at our major triad. Now let's take this E and put it like down here, okay? Let's see what that sounds like. Now we've got the third on the bottom. Sounds a little bit different, but it's still a C major chord. This could be useful, say, if you want a melody on the bass line, right? So if I want to take that E and put it down here. So I hope you liked today's video. If you did, leave a comment, subscribe, like, do the algorithm things. It would be lovely. But more than that, I hope to see you next week.